Okay, remember that they're changing my voice because I'm carrying my cross like a man and they're not. I'm not gay. This video is about how all the churches, the mosques, the synagogues, all the governments, all the major movements you see all worship Dionysus, who is like the main and central character of Greco-Roman mythology, and why that's problematic. Bear with me, you'll see that I'm right. So, eugenics has everything to do with the cult of Dionysus, everything. Why? Because it is madness. It's mere human rules, customs, and traditions. It's human rituals, right? It's ritual madness. First, they have a kind of theater, right, where they pretend to be important. And they use false scales. And historically, they leverage their privilege unfairly, a privilege that is unearned, mind you. And then they say, hey, how come you're not performing as well as we are? Therefore, we're going to do things like put things in the water and the food and the air, and downplay the harm of processed foods and stuff like this historically until we've bred the world with the way we want to, or what have you. That's what they're saying. So Dionysus is a deity of many things, including ritual madness, wine, religious ecstasy, theater, right? Theater arts, art, okay, inspiration, false conceptions of freedom, what have you. So there's three things I'm going to zoom in on in this video. One is the fact that Nusa is said to mean tree. Nusa as a root term, a root word for the word Dionysus. Okay, and according to many experts, that is a very logical connection there. The second thing is that Dionysus and his cult are said to persecute people who insult their cult. For example, if you go to a church and you start thinking a certain way, you start questioning things a certain way, you start explaining things a certain way, or you explain things a certain way on the internet, people who claim to be Christians and other people as well will start to persecute you. Why? Because you've insulted Dionysus. Now, Dionysus is a sniveling, rape cult, kid raping, human trafficking worm. The idea of Dionysus is really sick. It's the idea of the essence of the spirit of everything that's evil on the planet. Dionysus is absolutely considered a chthonic deity, an underworld deity, dark and chthonic, dark and evil, associated with snakes and the interior of the soil, including excrement. So it's a deity of homosexuality, especially raping children. Right? He's a young Zeus, and Zeus raped the altar boy, the cupbearer, rather, Ganymede. So Dionysus is a disgusting word, and I proudly oppose everyone who's dumb enough to worship him, whether they're enthusiastic about it or not. Now, the third thing has to do with the lake of memory. According to some experts, initiates in the cult of Dionysus, who's also known as Bacchus, and is connected to the Bacchanalia, a kind of ritual event where people run around and push people over and act crazy and get drunk, and people are raped, but they tend to downplay that part in history, and so on and so forth. A ritual madness, ritual lunacy, ritual kind of chaotic thinking. Like, these gay parades are reminiscent of the Bacchanalia, but they're not full-fledged Bacchanalia events. The protests, right? The No Kings protests, conservative protests, you name it. Okay, but the lake of memory is said to be a place where initiates who are dumb enough to go along with it, whether it's through the church, the mosque, the synagogues, through occult movements, satanic movements, through the state, through military initiation rites, through the Freemasonry, who are dumb enough to go along with it, they're said to kind of reinvent themselves. They destroy their ego. Sound familiar? An ego is said to be one's sense of self, one's identity, as to be distinguished from inflated ego, which is somebody who thinks that they're more important than they are. For example, if I was to tell you I'm the son of two doctors, one a brain surgeon who's a humanitarian, that's not an inflated ego. That's who I am. If I was to tell you that I'm someone with a top martial arts challenge, who strikes at world record speed, or who struck at world record speed historically before they crippled me, and my challenge is still going, thus making me the person who's done the most impressive thing in martial arts in human history, and logically the top martial artist ever possible because of tech, breeding, cheating, and generational ill-gotten gains ruling out other people in the future, that would be who I actually am, not an inflated ego. If I was to tell you that the Bible points to me as Christ because of Proverbs saying, do you see someone who's skilled in their work? They were served before kings, not officials of low rank. And Proverbs 16:12 saying the throne is established in justice. And Proverbs 16:10 saying God's verdict is on the lips of the king. Okay, and that includes who he is. And that means I'm Christ. I am the king. It is my right to determine whether or not I'm Christ and to declare myself Christ. Okay. And also Proverbs 30 verse 4 where it says that Christ is someone who holds the Spirit of God in his fists, right? Who spiritually and figuratively goes up to heaven and comes back down, and so on and so forth. That's called a logical interpretation and a logical conclusion in regards to who I am. Thus, it is a fair and logical ego, not an inflated ego. But the followers of Dionysius, they develop an inflated ego, right? Kind of when people say they're empowered or that quote unquote Jesus is Satan. It's really Dionysius. Their false image of Christ is an image of Dionysius, aka Zacharias, aka Serapis. And that's why a lot of people, including Caesar Borgia, look like him. Caesar Borgia was trying to be like Dionysius. And the people who made the false image of Christ were trying to make the image of Dionysius. That's why they look similar. They weren't necessarily trying to make it look like Caesar Borgia, the second son of Pope Alexander, the fifth of Rome, or whoever the hell it was. Okay. Now, so they go to this lake of memory, and people who are said to have, guardians who are said to have sharp minds, ask them, what do you want here? And if they give them the right answer, okay, they let them drink from the lake of memory. Okay, but first, they ask the underground king, right? Pluto, Hades, who is Zeus's alter ego. Now, who is Zeus? He is a grown Dionysus. He's like these old, decrepit, demented, deranged, senile monsters who head the cult system. Okay, they are the Zeuses, so to speak. And part of the rights of Zeus include military rights. That's why so many people are sexually assaulted in the military, and they cover it up because that's part of the cult of Dionysus. Now, I didn't want to make this video this long, so let me end it right there. Please see my next video where we talk about the rules of engagement.